Mica Miller was married to Pastor John Paul Miller, but their relationship was far from idyllic. Despite being married to a man who served as a spiritual leader, Mica reportedly faced ongoing emotional and mental abuse throughout their marriage. Allegations of infidelity on John Paul's part added to the strain, as did his controversial behavior within their church community. The dynamics of their relationship became increasingly toxic, with Mica struggling to break free from the controlling behavior that seemed to permeate every aspect of her life.
So today my heart's a little heavy. I've had a lot of women that have reached out to me about situations of abuse. And I just want to tell you what a lot of people have told me lately and reminded me, because I think I forgot. I knew, but I pushed it in the back of my head just because of my situation. But you are the bride of Christ. Before anybody else's bride, male or female, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what gender you are. Abuse is abuse. And you are the bride of Christ. And my Bible says that he took all the abuse you could think of for you so that you didn't have to live that life of slavery and bondage and pain. Jesus took it all for you. So you don't have to stay in a abusive relationship, whether that's sexual, whether that's somebody forcing you to take illegal drugs, or alcohol abuse, or physical abuse, psychological abuse, making you think that this is all your fault, or you're a bad mom, or you're a bad wife, or you're a bad husband, or you're not giving it your all when you know you are. God hates divorce, but why? According to everybody I've asked and the scriptures that I've found, it's because it hurts people. But does abuse hurt people? How do you think God feels about that? So, I want to remind you, like a bunch of people have been reminding me lately, that I'm God's bride first. And even an earthly spouse who's a good spouse, when they know that their bride is being hurt, just imagine what an earthly spouse does. What do you think your heavenly spouse does when you're the bride of Christ and he sees his bride going through abuse and hurt? What do you think he thinks about that? So, encouragement in all this is you are the bride of Christ first before anybody else's. And he's got you. And he sees you. And he loves you.
Despite her attempts to seek help and distance herself, JP allegedly exerted psychological control over her, restricting her movements and isolating her from loved ones. In the months leading up to Mica's tragic passing, she became more vocal about her fears for her safety. She reported harassment and stalking to authorities, and in the months prior to her death, she filed for separation and was preparing for a divorce. Mica confided in family members, expressing that she feared for her life and even warned them that if she were to die under suspicious circumstances, it would not be self-inflicted. This foreshadowing would later fuel suspicions when Mica was found dead in Lumber River State Park, North Carolina, on April 27, 2024. John Paul informed his congregation that Mica's death was a suicide, but her family and friends raised questions about the circumstances. They noted bruises on her body and alleged that Mica had been documenting instances of abuse and manipulation by her husband, including accusations against his church. This, combined with reports of her being involuntarily committed to a mental health facility by JP shortly before her death, cast further doubt on the narrative of suicide. The case gained widespread attention, with social media users and activists rallying around Mica, calling for justice and questioning the role John Paul played in her death. As the case continued to unfold, it became clear that Mica's struggles had been rooted in a pattern of psychological and emotional manipulation. Her family eventually reached a legal settlement, which ended plans for a wrongful death lawsuit. However, the questions about the power dynamics within the marriage and the unresolved trauma surrounding Mica's death lingered, casting a shadow over the entire situation. The FBI has launched a parallel investigation in connection with Mica Miller's case, although this investigation is separate from the inquiry into her death. Local authorities initially ruled Mica's death as a suicide, but as stated before, her family and supporters have raised suspicions, especially since Mica had reportedly expressed fears for her safety before her death. In early November 2024, the FBI executed a search warrant at the home of her husband, John Paul Miller, the pastor of Solid Rock Church in Myrtle Beach. This search was part of the broader investigation, but the specific nature of what the FBI is investigating remains unclear. Despite these developments, local authorities continue to affirm their position that Mica's death was a suicide, and they have dismissed any direct connection between John Paul Miller and her death. Mica's case is a sobering example of the long-term effects of emotional and psychological abuse, and the control one individual can wield over another. It is a reminder of how such relationships can remain hidden behind a facade of normalcy, only for the truth to emerge in tragic circumstances. Thank you for watching. Kindly drop your thoughts in the comments section and see you in our next video.